Thank you for your beautiful song of happy birthday. Thank you to Taproot Catering, otherwise known as my daughter Meredith. I don't know what we got over there, but I know it's good. Thank you. I am filled with gratitude to be a part of this community and for the call to motherhood and the call to ministry and the call to Unity Grand Valley. So thank you for that. So let me compose myself just a little bit.
Don't overdo it.
I know, I'm at advanced age, right? I keep thinking I'm 86 and not 68, but whatever, here I am. Doesn't really matter. Well, we're well into the season of Lent right now. In fact, this is the last week. Last time I was with you in the beginning of March, you might remember that I talked about Lent and about the Lenten guide for this year called Fasting and Feasting. I just love what Unity does with this season. They always give us something to stimulate our spiritual growth and expand us. It's a guide to transformation. Many of us remember as children giving up something for Lent. It was usually sweets, right? But, with Unity, we bring that to a much more meaningful level. And the Fasting and Feasting Guide really brought that home. Fasting from negativity and feasting on all the beauty of God's love and light in our lives. I think the transformation process begins with some inner urge, some level of discomfort maybe. And this divine discontent acts as a reminder that we have a divine purpose and that we are more than this body and than the material world. The inner prodding is a call from Spirit. It's a call from our deepest self, seeking expression and expansion. It's a divine urge to bring forth more of our God-given talents and abilities. And that goes through our whole lives. It never ends, even when you're as old as I am. In the months since I talked to you last, I've just been observing this transformation process. There's always something new. And when we're awake to the potential of the divine within our being, transformation process arises again and again, sometimes much to our dismay. Early in my years of association with Unity and New Thought, my friends and I used to say to each other, we're not in Kansas anymore. And we wanted to click our heels together. I was going to wear red shoes today, but I didn't think my back would let me wear heels. But we wanted to click our heels together and go back home. And home meant that place where we thought, where we were under the illusion that we were safe. The truth is we are. But that when you don't know you're on a trail, I don't know how people get through life without knowing this and working with it in a positive way. And that's a lot of why I stand here before you, to be whatever guide I can be, to help in that process. Be ye transformed. It sounds rather romantic, doesn't it? And lovely. And yet the process can be heartbreaking and painful. That's the bad news. But the good news is that we're all in this together. And the goodness in the universe is with us and helping us in every moment. And we bravely move forward to answer our own particular call. We move into deeper fulfillment and contentment than we ever knew was possible. About 5 or 7 years ago, I happened on a Netflix video called Raw Faith. It's a documentary about Marilyn Sewell, a Unitarian Universalist minister in Portland, Oregon. The movie found her at age 67 after 17 years of leading the same congregation. She was contemplating retirement from the pulpit. And after 30 years as a divorced woman, living alone, confronting the urge to connect deeply in a relationship with a man. I think I would have quit. That sounds overwhelming to me. But what I loved about the movie was that Marilyn Sewell had attained the goals in ministry that I dreamed of. And she was deeply committed to her congregation, and she was deeply bonded with them. She displayed the integrity and the commitment that I prized, and she had successfully and inspired and grown that community in her 17 years to triple its enrollment. Like I said, that was about 5 years ago, but more recently, I thought about that, and I went to try to find it again, and it was no longer offered on Netflix. So I went to the god of Amazon, and I not only found the DVD, but I found that she also had written a book called Raw Faith. It's called Raw Faith, Following the Thread. I found this memoir to be a very candid and honest tale of what following the thread, listening to the call, means. And it doesn't just apply to the call to ministry, I hope you know, but to each of us. It applies to our particular gifts that we have been born into this life to bring and share. In it, she details the rawness of the trials that she went through, as well as the deep fulfillment that comes from what she calls following the thread. In the first pages of the book, there's a poem that's written by William Stafford, entitled The Way It Is. There's a thread you follow. It goes among things that change, but it doesn't change. People wonder what you are pursuing. You have to explain about the thread, but it's hard for others to see. While you hold it, you cannot get lost. Tragedies happen. People get hurt or die, and you suffer and get old. Nothing you can do can stop time's unfolding. You don't ever let go of the thread. Not letting go of the thread, to me, is answering the call. The staying true to that divine inner urge within you, and through every challenge, and even through betrayal. Marilyn Sewell's life was filled with challenge, pain, and betrayal. For example, her story opens when, at the age of 9, she's living in Cincinnati with her parents and 2 younger siblings. Without warning, one day her father comes home. He spreads a sheet on the floor. He empties their drawers of clothes into the sheet, pulls up the corners, and puts it in the trunk of the car. And he drives away with the 3 children. He takes them to, they left behind their mother and their dog and their toys. He drives the children to Louisiana, to the home of his parents, where the children are set up with a bed in the dining room. And there they continue to live and grow. Marilyn never knows just why. She and her brother and sister were taken from their mother and never sees her mother again until she graduates from college. Their father is an active alcoholic who disappears for days at a time, and his parents, her grandparents, are very stern and threatening. Marilyn grew up with the constant fear that she should not ask questions, that she and her siblings might be put out on the street at any time, and that her father might disappear some night and not come back. Marilyn's tale is one of challenge, but also of forgiveness, of learning to listen to her own inner voice, and follow many roads to the place where the documentary finds her. We don't often delve seriously into the challenges on the journey of awakening. We look at the joys, we celebrate the triumphs, but Marilyn does delve into the challenges. And I find it so inspiring that she had the courage to do that, because we can all relate to that. None of us has survived this long without challenges and trials, heartache and pain. If she can do it, we can do it too. I'm always inspired by stories of people's lives, and you must know that from me standing up here as many times as I have, that I love the tales of triumph. That inspires me, and that opens my heart and gives me a willingness to continue on. The message of Christ's life was the same. As we read his story, we see the challenges of his journey, culminating in the Passion story and ultimately his crucifixion and resurrection. We see his example of following the thread. Yet we can detach ourselves sometimes because we think he's different, He's so different. We don't have what he had. But it's not true. We have all the love and inspiration, all the strength and all the support, just as he did. More modern day examples like this one of Marilyn Sewell continue to give us current day inspiration. As I worked with the transformation process, I've been strengthened by her example. As she matured and moved on into college and marriage, she tells us that each time she comes to a crossroad, she seeks divine guidance by turning to the divine with a question and an expression of her willingness to be of service. By saying in silence, "What's next? I'm available." This to me expresses the maturity of our spiritual development as we're learning to have purpose and know that there are greater energies available to us to help us experience expansion and fulfillment. Committing to the journey and meeting with success can also be strengthened by reminding ourselves of some of the basics of spiritual awareness over and over again. I am loved. I am part of the infinite good, an infinite expression of goodness. Louise Hay has written that all the challenges people face boil down to this one need, and that is to know that we are loved. Affirming this every day, maybe even several times a day. I am loved. I am a part of the infinite good, and the infinite expression of goodness strengthens the foundation we need in order to support transformation into full expression of our part of divine life. I also believe we need to keep our awareness focused in two ways to succeed. The first instruction came to me one morning. Waking from sleep, I heard these words, "Laying down broken tracks." It took a few minutes of contemplation to realize that Spirit was speaking to me of the need to stay positive about the future, because wandering into old habits of fear and doubt is like laying broken tracks. The ride will be bumpy and you might be derailed. For me, that means being vigilant about my thoughts, making sure I only allow thoughts that are of the highest good that I wish to experience. We create our lives with our thoughts, so we must be meticulous about only laying out the most perfect and beautiful. I recently developed a new practice, and sometimes when I go to bed and can't get to sleep, that's when all that stuff comes, right? And I also know that what we think about the last 5 minutes before sleep is magnified through our sleep. So I want to keep it positive. So my little trick now is to see a balloon, and I put all those thoughts that are like what ifs in there and just see it floating away. Give it a try. It really works. So secondly, we must fully commit to success. We must be single-minded. I recently read this. When the flow of a mighty river becomes diverted into a myriad of rivulets, the movement of the water slows along its course. The forward momentum of the current is diminished. Several streams replace what might have been a powerful surge had the river remained directed along one path. The same principle applies to our attention. Staying single-minded with regard to a goal or purpose greatly enhances its successful attainment. Our focused attention becomes a powerful force that moves surely toward our intended goal. Bringing this image of the river to mind as you follow your thread, as you answer the call, can help remind you to keep your energy focused and positive, even through the challenges that are sure to arise. I had an example of this come to me from one of my daughters recently. She and her husband had been renting out a house that they owned, and to a relative, as a matter of fact. And when that person moved out and they went to clean the house and prepare it for sale, they were amazed at what they found. The relatives had let their dogs use the whole house as a bathroom. The floor was ruined because the house reeked from the smell of urine and feces, and dried piles had to be scraped from the floor. The stories go on, but suffice to say, my daughter and her husband were rightfully upset and felt disrespected. But as they rolled up their sleeves to spend the next 2 days cleaning the house, they didn't speak of it. My daughter said it was what it was, and there was nothing to be gained by complaining. It would only diffuse their energy and magnify the negativity. This is the kind of focus and maturity it takes to attain success and fulfillment that lead to the joy in the end. In Let Your Life Speak, Parker J. Palmer encourages us with these words: vocation does not come from willfulness, no matter how noble one's intentions. It comes from listening to and accepting the true self, with its limits as well as its potentials. I love that. With its limits as well as potentials. Full acceptance. Let the highest truths and values guide everything you do. In seeking and answering the call of our own spirits, meditate on the question of what your God self, that is your deepest essence, wants or seeks through you. Know that you are completely loved, supported, and guided by this expression. See the ground rising up to meet you with every step you take, and know that nothing can really go wrong. Spirit has the ability to work all things in your favor. Just heard somebody say that in an interview. God meant it for evil. They meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. So everything can be transformed. Allow yourself to trust in that. Something in you knows how to do this. And when you know that you know, it comes through you. Allow yourself to walk forward and know that Your success has been decreed. Your existence is for a purpose, and as you answer your unique call and bring your gifts to the oneness of life. Namaste, my friends. We're going to move into meditation with some of the ideas that I just talked about. So if you'll just center yourselves and just at your own pace, take a few deep, deep breaths. As you breathe in, see that energy flow through the top of your head, down the center of your being, and down through your feet, grounding you and rooting you in the divine. Breathe again. Feel your body, mind, and spirit align in perfect oneness. You're now in touch with the more. You're now in touch with the divine that you truly are. Everything else falls away. Know all that you have walked through have brought you to this moment, and this moment is perfectly as it needs to be. The infinite love of Spirit transforms everything in your favor. And wherever you are in your journey right now, in this moment, ask that question. What's next? I'm available. You feel that little twinge of hesitation and fear, wondering what you'll be asked. But bring your energy back like that mighty river, knowing that you are full force. You have everything you need to answer the call. Take another breath. What's next? I'm available. Just sit in that quiet place for a moment. In one of Karen Drucker's songs, she sings, "Only go as fast as the slowest part of you feels safe to go." And as you say that to yourself, you feel arms embrace you. You feel the full self-compassion that you were always meant to know, that you have everything you need, that you are exactly in the right place and the right time. And as you move forward, it will always be so. And to take it even one step further, if there's a loved one that you're concerned about, just take this moment to know for them they're exactly where they need to be. They are held in arms of love and are guided perfectly and safely in their own journey. Now, let's vision that balloon. We put all our fears, concerns in that, and we just let it go. And we see all those floating up into the heavens. And we know all is well. All is well. All is well. And so it is. Thank you.